Every culture that has anything that is worth saving should do that. But those things that are worth saving are those things that bear fruit, that are not sinful, those things that empower humanity. What China does, for instance, does not empower humanity. It is sinful. It does not bear fruit. I mean, how poignantly clear could this be when they had a one-child policy and literally 50 million children were killed while they had that? 50 million, some after they had been born. Their policies don't bear fruit. They're dying. They commit suicide by jumping out of apple factories, the top floors of apple factories. And they have to have suicide nets to prevent the people from dying. That way of living does not bear fruit. It's sinful, therefore. Anything that's worth saving, though, I mean, like if you look at Japan, they've got plenty of things that are worth saving. So does China. So does China. All right, I want to make that clear. Namely, the people are worth saving. That's the only thing that really matters. The people. The only thing that matters. And China, their government has it backwards. They think that people are a means to an end, and not the end itself. The people are the end. They're the ones that the government is supposed to serve, not the other way around. If there is to be a government at all. All right, now when it comes to taxes, let's talk about the United States. So it was brilliant that the government, Congress, the president, they actually got some decent tax cuts through a couple years ago. We're a little bit behind, but basically my concept on this was that we should have continued these types of tax cuts for the entirety of President Trump's time in office. 1% tax cut across the board per year. And this goes back to the frustratingly idiotic mentalities of the left. They say you should pay your fair share. They don't understand percentages. By definition, if everybody is paying 15% taxes off of the money that they make from their work, which, by the way, is 50% higher than what it was under feudalism, then it's fair. If it's a flat tax, guess what? A flat tax, by definition, is the only thing that is fair. The fact that the richest people are taxed at the very highest levels is dysgenic and is the most unfair thing that I can think of the government doing when it comes to taxes. They have no faith that human beings and the free market and the way we've constructed it with our Christian morality is going to allocate resources to those who would be the best stewards of said resources. You give $1 billion to a street urchin, and they're not going to make Apple. They're not going to make a Google. They're not going to make an Amazon. But you give it to a Jeff Bezos. I don't like the guy, but he's really good when it comes to business and tech savviness and all that. He'll make it. Just like Stefan Molyneux talks about, transplanting all of Mexico into Japan and vice versa. You don't get, it's not Japan when you do that. When you transfer all of Mexico into Japan and take out all the Japanese people, it's not the same country. It doesn't have the same economic ability, wealth, and all that. It just doesn't happen. It's the people that matter. All right? It's the people. The reason a Jeff Bezos is so wealthy is because he knew what he was doing with his money. A flat tax is the only fair tax. It is utterly stupid for those who think otherwise. It's so goddamn frustrating. It's like you're talking to a world full of complete idiots. I mean, mind you, I love every human being, always will. But you have to accept that a lot of them are real stupid. It's just the way it is. But I want to put this in perspective for you, okay? So during the Roman times, all right, during the times of the Roman Empire, not the Holy Roman Empire, that came afterwards, the nominal tax rate, if my memory serves me, was about 2.5% across the entire empire. 2.5%. During feudalism, about 1,000 years ago, the average tax rate was about 10%. It was elevated during excessive times of war, but it was roughly about 10%. The average tax rate in the United States today is 25%. That is 2.5 times what it was under feudalism, and 10 times what it was under the Roman Empire 2,000 years ago. This is fucking ridiculous. Ridiculous. Again, I apologize for the cursing. Especially since I'm going to go back to a biblical concept here. I just can't tell you how frustrated I am about this. No progress seems to be being made. I know progress is being made because we live short lives and we don't get to see what happens when we die or what was going to happen if we weren't there, etc., etc., etc. We have to live our one lives. It's just the way it is. But I think we should go back to a biblical concept of tithing. 10% of our income goes to the church. And the church is not the government, because there needs to be a separation between church and state. Don't get me wrong. But they're the real constituent that keeps our society together. The government is there just to build roads and to be able to raise a military force whenever necessary, to regulate interstate commerce. Basically, the things that would make it a protectorate that the founding fathers of the United States said the federal government should be able to do. Okay? So that's what it should be. If we go on a tithing system, then the government takes 10% of our wealth. By the way, that's still 5 times higher than the tax rate, the nominal tax rate of the Roman Empire, and is equal to that average under feudalism during the Middle Ages in Europe. The taxes that we pay now are utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. But the truth of the matter is, we can't really do this until we get a basic foundational morality in the world, where a country like China isn't going to take advantage of us for having a smaller government. Because the fact of the matter is, because we don't have enough trust, the smaller amount of trust that there is in the world, the bigger the government, which means the smaller the God, the bigger the government. But because there's no foundational level of trust, China will take advantage of us if we try to reduce our taxes to that point. All right? Because they won't reduce their taxes. They'll keep them the same way they are. And then they won't be able to economically surpass us, but they will be able to militarily surpass us. That's why we spend $800 billion per year on our military budget. That's a gigantic amount of money. That is more money than the GDP of all but like 5 or 7 countries in the entire world. It's humongous. We can do it because the United States economy is absolutely gigantic, which is because of the free market. We still have vestiges of it. But even so, even if we don't go to a 10% nominal tax rate, if we just flattened the tax rate, that would be better. I honestly would be totally fine with paying a 25% tax rate if everyone was paying a 25% tax rate, because then it would genuinely be fair. But the doofuses on the left do not understand the concept of percentages. You have to understand, most of the general population are not good with numbers. They ain't that smart. We really are children. And, when it comes to the